Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, it's great to be back with you on the program. Thanks for having me.
So just some background. You helped serve in the first Trump administration. You helped blow the lid off of the lies of the Russiagate story with Robert Mueller and Obama and Hillary Clinton. Now I'm seeing that President Biden is leaking to the media that the White House believes that Russia is meddling in the upcoming presidential election. Every mainstream media outlet is grabbing this. They're going crazy with giving this generous amounts of attention. Is this the groundwork of setting up in case Kamala loses, or is this the groundwork for another Russiagate in case Donald Trump wins?
It's all of the above, and we're back to Russia. Look, I was a chief investigator for the House Intel Committee that literally exposed all the FBI lies, all the DNC unlawful activity, all the illicit money, all the illegal surveillance, and all the basically weaponization of government for political purposes. And since the DNC and the Kamala Harris campaign have expensed every round in the chamber, they're back to their original plan. Remember, the DNC orchestrated Russiagate. They are the ones that use campaign finance dollars to go hire a foreign intelligence asset and funnel that information to the FBI, which they knowingly lied to a federal court. That was a political op. It wasn't Russia was rigging our elections. It was the DNC and the radical left-wing media, the Democrats, and the FBI and DOJ were. And so now that everything has been sort of expensed, I think what you're seeing is a setup to say, oh my God, if Donald Trump wins, it has to be Russia. And if Kamala Harris loses, then that's of course the reason Russia rigged the election for President Trump. And this DOJ and Merrick Garland and Lisa Monaco has no shame. And remember, Lisa Monaco was a senior official for the Obama administration when they launched Russiagate. And she is now the number 2 at the Department of Justice as the Deputy Attorney General, who literally runs the building in the DOJ. And so basically, it's back to, well, we tried everything else. We tried calling Donald Trump out on disinformation campaigns by saying, Afghanistan was Donald Trump's fault. And we tried saying the border was Donald Trump's fault. And we tried saying the economy was Donald Trump's fault. And we tried saying that CCP fentanyl was Donald Trump's fault. But thankfully, the truth, gratefully to shows like yours, has come out, and the American people are like, wait a second, you guys lied to us about everything from Russiagate on to 51 Intel, Hunter Biden's laptop, and what we just talked about. Why would we believe anything you're saying now, but the media will print it?
Yeah. Do you think that they are trying to convince the country, or just Democrat voters, and maybe pick up a little bit of those skeptical independent voters?
I think they're trying to scare people into thinking that any concept of agreeing with or supporting Donald Trump for presidency is tainted, in their opinion, in their mind, by the big bad Russia animal. And that's what they tried before, and it worked to a certain extent, right? I mean, Donald Trump defeated it in spite of the headwinds of being a political novice at the time to the largest land in the world, to the largest office in the world. So I think they've just literally run out of, and we talked about this maybe a year ago on your show. What are they going to do? Even I didn't think they would go back to the Russia playbook, but I guess it's the one they know best. And maybe they'll find 2 new lovebirds at the FBI to rig another FISA. Maybe they're already up on FISAs for Trump supporters. I don't know. We already know that they sent the FBI to people's houses who are Trump supporters. We know they send them to places of worship that support Donald Trump. And so, Christopher Wray, who has completely weaponized the Justice and Department and FBI as an extension of the basically I keep saying Hillary, but Harrison Walz campaign.
Yeah. I want to roll a tape that just came out from Dan Bongino, where he walks through lies from Christopher Wray and the FBI, specifically about January 6th, but how there was, just as the DNC was really behind spying on and rigging things against Donald Trump under the umbrella of Russia, they rigged the January 6th Capitol breach under the umbrella of this pipe bomber. And then they lied under oath to Congress that they were doing everything they could in order to capture this person. And the whole thing seems to be a fabricated story based on whistleblowers. Let me go ahead and react to that with you.
You ready for number 2? Here's another one. Separate whistleblower reaches out to me. And this I've been working on for a while. This isn't new. Folks, let's just get this out of the way about January 6th. It is now confirmed. I mean, you knew this in advance. So this is why I put this first. This is not breaking news. However, I can confirm to you, in case you were even remotely deluded about it, say you're a lefty watching my show, that the FBI 100% had undercovers in the crowd on January 6th. I know you know that. I'm just saying Christopher Wray's been shady about it and others. I'm telling you from a source on the ground with photo evidence to back it up. The FBI and other agencies, not just the FBI, by the way, had multiple undercovers on the ground on January 6th. Period. There's now no disputing it. I've seen the evidence. Number 2, the pipe bombs that were placed at the DNC and the RNC that I believe were planted there on purpose by people looking to frame Trump supporters to stop the objection to the certification of the vote. They didn't want people talking about voter fraud problems, so they needed this. After the pipe bombs were found, assets on the ground, including a whistleblower who was not there but was one of the assets on the ground, was briefed about the pipe bombs the next day and shown a picture of a guy in a hoodie. Hey, we're looking for this guy. Planted these pipe bombs. And they were like, wow, that's crazy. Almost killed Kamala Harris, God forbid. This whistleblower tells me that, but 2 days later, after the pipe bombs, he notes, emphasis his, without explanation, they were told to stand down. No need to look for the guy anymore, which is really strange because the FBI is telling us now there's like a $22 trillion reward for finding this guy. 500,000. You get the point. So the FBI is trying to find the guy, but not trying to find the guy 2 days later when the evidence trail was hot. Why do you think that is? Because maybe in that period they found out who the guy was and they were like, oh shit, we can't have them knowing that. Point 4. This whistleblower believes very strongly, emphasis his, that the pipe bomber may be a government contractor. What? What the hell? This whistleblower's record with me is 100%. We're not destroying this big. I have no reason to doubt, given his expertise, that he's giving me an accurate assessment of the situation. But he believes with near certainty that the pipe bomber may be a government contractor.
All right. Your thoughts on this new information coming out through Dan Bongino?
Well, look, up front, Dan is a personal friend of mine. I've known him for a long time, so I may have a biased opinion. I think he was a brilliant law enforcement officer and continues to be an incredible reporter, journalist. And Dan has sources that are probably better on this issue than maybe anyone else in the business. So I'm going to take Dan at face value because I've never known him to put something out that's even remotely close to not credible with that kind of affirmation. And so that's scary on a multiple fronts for me. One, Christopher Wray has been lying and the FBI has been lying under oath. If you rewind the tapes and go back a year or two, actually, they confirmed under oath that there was no FBI sources or assets in and around January 6th. And we blew open that narrative through courageous reporting and other whistleblowers coming forward and saying, that's not true. We know this guy. And then the narrative started to shift. Then they said, oh, we can't talk about it anymore. The FBI. And so you knew we caught them in a lie. And yet again, nothing happens to the FBI. So I don't believe a single thing the FBI and DOJ put out about January 6th. And why don't we know, turning to the pipe bomber, how is it that a vice president of the United States and the now nominee to be the president of the United States for the Democratic Party was within a football field's distance of a pipe bomb, and we don't know anything about it? Nothing? And the problem that the FBI causes, besides lying and politicizing their agency, is one I think they intentionally want to have happen. Since they won't fill the void with the truth, they want other people to go out there and make up stories and then attack those people for doing the job the FBI failed to do. And so kudos to Jan Bongino for putting out information that I believe him with credible reporting. And maybe Congress can get some subpoenas out the door to FBI and say, where is it? Give us a briefing. You don't have to give America a briefing. Give me a briefing. I'm on the Intel Committee. I'm on Judiciary. I'm on whatever. We pay you. We have oversight over you. You report to us. But the FBI, of course, is never going to heed that direction, I believe, unless Donald Trump's elected, because they're just not. And look, the Harris, Biden, Wallace administration, whatever you want to call it, they're in on it. They probably have the answers. It is shocking to me that no member of the Gang of Eight, which oversees the intelligence for the United States government, the whole of the government and the president, no member of the Gang of Eight has spoken about this issue with any affirmation saying we've been briefed in detail. That to me is shocking. And if you just rewind the tape to the Trump administration, how many times did the Gang of Eight from the Democratic side lurch up and say, we need a briefing on this. We need a briefing on this. We need a briefing on this. Well, where are they now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very concerning because the whole thing kind of looks like it was a setup in order to pull police away from the Capitol right at the very time you had Ray Epps and others pushing to go into the building, the flash bang grenades going off, scaring people, getting everybody in a panic. But to now have Christopher Wray, because I remember watching him under oath say, we've got this group looking and this group and this, group of scientists. And he lists all of these assets that the FBI supposedly had on the pipe bomber. And then now you have whistleblowers saying that 2 days later, they were told, don't look for this person. Don't look for any evidence. It's just, I like the American people. I get so sick of being lied to.
Everybody's sick of it. And that's just the disgusting part about all of this. This is not like the first time the FBI lied. It's not like they had an accident. This was an intentional cover-up to mislead the American public about what happened. This is why the FBI's credibility is cratering. It's not because of Donald Trump and MAGA supporters. It's because you, the FBI, have weaponized justice and lied to the American people about your interference in an election by going to Facebook and Twitter and other companies and censoring our truth, the truth. And you admitted to doing so after lying about it. Only when you got caught. You are the FBI that illegally surveilled Americans. You, Christopher Wray, are the director of the FBI that 274,000 times in 1 year illegally used FISA authority on American citizens and got caught by the FISA court, not by Kash Patel, by the FISA court. And half of that illicit activity was overseeing political campaigns. And this is all public now. The FISA court has released this information, this report. And this is the same Christopher Wray that now says, there's nothing to do with the pipe bomb, no assets, no sources in and around January 6th. We keep disproving the number one law enforcement agency supposedly in the world because they keep lying to the American people. And the FBI leadership structure, key point, leadership structure, not the everyday FBI agents, and employees. The leadership structure is the one that has gotten us here, and it has not changed. It is a revolving door of the swamp, and is a perfect example of how government gangsters employ themselves for their own selfish gain and don't do the work of the American people anymore. And it's why I said FBI headquarters should be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state. You need 50 people to run that building. The rest of those agents, go chase criminals across America.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, let me just take 1 minute for a quick commercial break. Not only do I use sponsors to keep the show great, but I also use them to introduce you to great products and help you save money. Interest rates have dropped, and right now is the perfect time to call my friends at American Financing. They are a family-owned company that is helping people like you create meaningful savings every month. Their salary-based mortgage consultants look at your full financial picture. All of your debts, including those frustrating credit card balances where you pay upwards of 20 to 30% in interest payments every month. And they work with you to create a loan program where they wipe all of that out. And in some cases, have some cash left over to create some emergency savings. American Financing is a true partner in helping you and your family save money. They never charge any upfront or hidden fees. It costs you absolutely nothing to find out how much you can save. Their average customer is saving over $800 a month. And if you start today, you might delay 2 mortgage payments. So I want you to check them out by going over to or calling 888-686-8030. Again, give them a call over at 888-686-8030. And I'm also going to leave a web link down below. Let's go ahead and go back to Kash Patel now. All right. The entire Tim Walz family has announced, they have this photo of all of them with Donald Trump flags for president, saying that they support President Trump. Several of Tim Walz's siblings say, do not let this man anywhere near the White House. He is a radical socialist. He's not done much for the state of Minnesota. Do not let this man in the White House. What are your thoughts on an entire family coming out saying, we do not support our brother as the vice president? In fact, for the safety of the country, we need Donald Trump back in office.
I think it's about as powerful of a message as you can have. It's not a commercial. It's not a video montage. It's not something that, as far as I know, was requested by anyone on the Republican side of the House. It was something his family came out, and his family, like being his brother, not like a cousin 7 times removed, and got the whole family together and showed a pretty powerful message. And I think it speaks volumes as to Tim Walz's character, which is what I think, in my opinion, is what they're going after. They're talking about, and they're probably annoyed about, his lying about his service to this nation and lying about his military time and what he did there. We're not attacking his service, but that he lied about it makes it a central issue when you're auditioning for the vice presidency of the United States of America. And it's a really powerful message to see his own family say, you know, not for that office. And so I think it's landing on its own. I don't think it needs any other momentum. It's a powerful message. And I hope people look at it when they determine whether or not we should vote for that guy.
Yeah. No, I agree with everything you just said. One thing that has me concerned is I keep reading about, Venezuela emptying their jails and their psych wards, their mental illness hospitals into America. Trump has been warning about this, and people mocked and laughed at him. And now we're seeing up in New York, they're having problem with illegal immigrants from Venezuela. Down in Colorado, they've taken over entire apartment complexes, kicked everyone out, stole all their property, treating them like their own little prison wards. Now they're taking over parts of Chicago, but the gangs in Chicago are saying, oh, you mess with the wrong place. Like, Colorado's nice. Us here in Chicago, like, this isn't going to be a territory war. Get out or be prepared to be killed.
Right.
What are your thoughts on these? Are we going to see an explosion of gang warfare as the people of Chicago try to stay in control of their territory?
Well, I certainly hope not, but hope is not a strategy. It's a wish. And Chicago has lit itself on fire, mayor after mayor. Every single weekend, there are dozens of shootings. Every year, children under the age of 5 are shot because of this gang warfare that has dwarfed Chicago because of its liberal approach to public safety. And we, as a nation, have been inflicted with some of this gang violence by extension through some of the illegal immigrants that come here. I mean, we've got MS-13 guys that have been flooding the streets. We've got narco traffickers flooding the streets. We just had an individual in the state of Indiana who was an illegal immigrant from 2018 and kicked out of the country, come back this past weekend and stab a minor girl at a community baseball game who was watching her brother play baseball. Every state, including my home state of Nevada, has been victimized. There is no longer border states. Every single state is a border state. And we are seeing this gang warfare of the sorts explode on the American scene. And places like Nebraska, where I just talked to the Trump 47 crew out there last night, they had almost zero fentanyl 4 or 5 years ago. They have seen an explosion of CCP fentanyl. That's gang warfare. I don't care if it's not styled as the traditional 50s and 60s gang warfare, but it's 2024 and the CCP is modernized. And so has MS-13. And so have these other criminal gangs that have come in due to the illegal immigration. And unfortunately, too many cities are starting to look like Chicago. And really, you're going to need a national level response that's not defund the police and let's remove authorities from ICE and CBP officers. That's the Harris-Walz game. President Trump has a much different approach.
Yeah. Well, one of the big concerns is obviously illegal immigration, inflation, but I think another one that people are worried about is safety. Under the Harris-Biden administration, they don't seem to care about policing. They don't seem to care about properly using the National Guard. Do you think under a Trump administration, we would see the National Guard deployed? I mean, we can't have these Venezuelan gangs literally taking over entire neighborhoods. Do you see him being more aggressive in his second term?
Well, I think history tells you what Donald Trump may do, especially in regards to the National Guard. Remember what we went through on January 6th and the issue of the National Guard. It wasn't an issue because President Trump proactively activated and authorized the National Guard for the events in and around January 6th across the country. And I, as chief of staff of DOD, was in the Oval Office when he laid out that authorization. Roger that, let's go to work. So we went to the heads of the DC, since it's not a state, it's a district. We went to the mayor, we went to Nancy Pelosi to talk about the Capitol. And what did we just find out just last week? This is so relevant. Nancy Pelosi was caught on video admitting, finally, that she should have done more with the National Guard, meaning she should have accepted the authorization and requested their activation. They didn't do that. In writing, they said no. And for years, they called us insurrectionists and Cash is lying, and Donald Trump never said that. Now we know it's a total farce, another disinformation campaign. But I think what that whole narrative tells you is that President Trump always has an eye on security and safety. And I don't know how he's going to lay that out specifically, but at least we know he will utilize the full extent of the Constitution to safeguard these matters. Maybe that's taking on these narco traffickers like he did the first term back down in Mexico as a part of it. Maybe it's employing DOD assets and intel assets like he did the first time to help prioritize intelligence collection so we can find these folks, right? There's a whole variety of issues you can throw at that. Maybe it's National Guard, maybe it's a combination, and maybe it's something he hasn't told anyone because we don't want to show the world our hand. But what I'm confident is at least President Trump is the one commander-in-chief who's going to go out there and say, I know all of the assets and things we can do, and I've used them in a variety of different fashions. So I'm going to use them again to safeguard the American people. I believe that he would do that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm sure you saw this, but Tulsi Gabbard is a national treasure. She's a decorated member of the military, such a great voice for peace and avoiding war. It's just come out that Kamala Harris and President Biden quietly put Tulsi Gabbard on the terrorist flight list so that every time she flies, it's a giant pain in her butt. She can't get around to campaign for Donald Trump. If this isn't political revenge, I don't know what is. Why would they do this? And if Trump gets back in office, can he reverse this? Can he put her back on a pedestal as an American hero and not listed as a freaking terrorist?
Well, this is another travesty and weaponization of our law enforcement. This is more at the DHS, Department of Homeland Security level, because they're responsible for, the flight and aviation security measures. And here's what we should do. We should have Congress, and this goes well with what I talked about in Government Gangsters, my book, about what we need to do to rectify things like this. First, we highlight the problem and go get the documents. This can't just happen. Some government gangster had to say, I want Tulsi Gabbard on this watch list. And some memo had to be sent to do it. I know, because I know how it works. And so it exists. So let's get all of it. Let's find out who said that was okay. Who thought that was a good idea? Who said it was okay to put a minority, woman, combat veteran on a terrorist watch list? Maybe if they prioritize capturing terrorists at the border and not losing them in this country, we would be safer instead of politicizing law enforcement mechanisms and saying Tulsi Gabbard should be on the terrorist watch list. It is so wildly offensive, whether it's Tulsi or anyone else. This FBI and DHS has admitted to losing 100 known terrorists that have seeded themselves into the country because instead of finding them and stopping them at the border and chasing them down in America, they're too busy sending memorandums about getting Tulsi on a terror watch list. So let's get those memorandums. Then let's see who we can hold accountable and how. Oh,
we need Trump back in, and we need you going after these people. You've done it before. You can do it again. You have a new book out. It's number 3 in your series about the plot against the king. Tell us about the new book.
No, thanks. Your audience has been so supportive of the trilogy, as we promised. The plot against the king. The first one was about Russiagate. The second one was about election integrity. And we told you we were going to come back strong with the third one, and we are literally releasing it today. It's called The Plot Against the King, The Return of the King. So go to theplotagainsttheking.com and pick up your copy today, signed or otherwise. And we're selling the trilogy package. But we wanted to wrap everything together, all the things we've been talking about. And yes, we said it in medieval times, and we had some fun with the characters. We had Hillary Quinton, we have Sleeper Joe, and we've got some other fun, Keeper Comey, and some other guys. And in this new one, we have Queen Kamala, and we have Donald Trump, King Donald, taking on the dragon of jalapenos, the DOJ, and going through the kingdom and kicking butt for America. And the kingdom is America. But it's a fun way to help, walk through with your children what's happened in the last 3-4 years. Everything we talked about on the show, Russiagate, government overreaching, corruption, law enforcement breaking the law, people lying during an election cycle just to get certain candidates elected and abusing government agencies and departments to do that. And we said it in this fun time with castles and dragons. And I think it's going to be another bestseller. So go to theplotagainsttheking.com and get your copy of The Return of the King. I think your children are going to love it. It's appropriate for all ages, 5 and up.
Okay, great. Well, my audience helped Government Gangsters become a bestseller on Amazon. We helped your documentary do really, really well. And so I wanted to have you back on there. The main thing is, man, we gotta win with Donald Trump. We got to get people like you who are fighting for the country in. We got to get RFK in. We got to get Tulsi, other people. There's so many incredible, like Trump says, there really is an incredible lineup of conservative voices that want to go do good and change the country. And so I'm excited for the election to just be here and over with. I know it's not going to be a walk in the park, but I also know a lot of the polling data is lying. And so anyway, I appreciate everything that you have done. I'm going to put a direct link down below, as well as a link to your Truth Social account so that people can follow you. Kash Patel, thank you so much for coming on today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.